All right, guys. So it is now officially the new month in July. It's the very first day, okay, of the new month. That means, okay, Q2 is officially over, and now we are in fact in Q3. And I do believe personally Q3 is gonna be rough for Bitcoin, unfortunately, right? Because you guys have to understand, okay, in Q3, okay, August, right, especially in September, are pretty ugly months for Bitcoin. Usually in around August, especially in September, we don't see Bitcoin performing that great. Okay, so that is exactly what I want to talk about. What can we expect for Q3, right? For these upcoming, few weeks and a few months. And of course, guys, personally, right, I do believe, we will potentially see Bitcoin having some ups and downs, mainly downs, right? Unfortunately, but as much as I do want to be bullish for Bitcoin, I am. Okay, I'm not saying this to be bearish. I am 100% bullish for Bitcoin, as you guys all know. But this is a great opportunity to buy some Bitcoin, guys. Right? When we do see Bitcoin having these drops and crashes and corrections, we take it as an opportunity to buy. So understand, this still gives us time to accumulate more Bitcoin. So honestly, okay, this is a blessing. I don't mind if Bitcoin drops back down below 100K. Honestly, I don't mind, right? Because I can accumulate more Bitcoin, okay? And it gives us all time, right, to accumulate more Bitcoin, right? It really, really does, okay? But we will have to see, guys, because maybe this time it will be different, right? Maybe in September this year in 2025 it will skyrocket. Who exactly knows? But usually that's not the case, right? Usually September we do see some pretty bad times for Bitcoin. So let's talk about it, guys, right? The Bitcoin price today, clearly, still consolidating, holding at 107, right? It's actually slightly dropping today. Okay, Bitcoin, right, still above $107,000, but it's still looking pretty good for Bitcoin, right? Pretty much consolidating at this level, right? The crypto market overall today is not really moving, slightly down almost 1%. Past 24 hours, Bitcoin is down 1%, same with Ethereum. Some altcoins today, okay, some are slightly moving, but we're not seeing huge moves. Bitcoin Cash right now is up almost 5%. Some alts I just clearly see are down. Avalanche is down 3%, okay. What is Casper doing today? Casper is down 4%. Ouch. Um, but yeah, fair few odds today are down quite a bit, guys. Okay, you guys can just clearly see that. So we're not seeing huge moves happening for alts, right? The Bitcoin monthly returns, you guys can clearly see it is the new month in July. Okay, you guys can clearly see it's the very first day of July, right? And that means we are in fact in Q3. So Q2 wasn't too bad, right? We were up almost 30%. At least we ended off in the greens, which is fantastic to see. So we'll see where Q3 will bring us. Okay, but like I said, guys, okay, I do believe Q3, it could potentially end in the greens. Hopefully it does. But you guys need to understand, okay, during these time periods, okay, like August and September especially, are pretty ugly. Okay, you guys can clearly see during the month in August, we did in fact see a fair few reds throughout the years in the month of August. Same with September, especially in September. Just look at the month of September, guys, during these time periods, right? Throughout the years. In 2022, all the way to 2017, we saw red months during those years in the month of September. Same with, 2014 and 2013, right? So September is usually when Bitcoin doesn't really perform that great. But like I said, okay, things can change because just last year, September, we did see Bitcoin actually ending it off in the greens. It was up over 7%. Same with 2023, right? It was up over 4% in the greens. So who knows? Times can change. Okay, who exactly knows? But we'll have to see, guys. Okay, we will have to see, right? But I do believe Q3 we're gonna see a lot of ups and downs. Okay, unfortunately, but that's just how it is, guys. Okay, and like I said, okay, I don't mind if Bitcoin drops even more because I'm gonna take that as an opportunity to accumulate more at a cheaper price, right? It gives us time to accumulate more Bitcoin cheaper, right? But understand, guys, Q4. Okay, let's talk about that real quick. I do believe Q4 is going to be a fantastic time for Bitcoin, right? That's when we're going to really see Bitcoin skyrocketing to new all-time highs. I mean, look at October. They call it October for a reason. So October, man, it's one of the best months for Bitcoin. You guys can clearly see throughout the years, in the month of October, Bitcoin has been in the greens. So, that's that. And same with November, right? Again, an amazing month for Bitcoin. Okay, and December's pretty decent as well, right? It's like 50-50 in December. So I'm expecting Q3 to have a lot of ups and downs, but in Q4, I'm expecting Bitcoin to really, really skyrocket. Okay, and maybe right in Q3, since Bitcoin is going down, maybe that's when we'll see, the Bitcoin dominance going down. Because as I told you guys many times, we have to see the Bitcoin dominance, okay, going down. For alt season to start, right? Because usually when the Bitcoin dominance does go down, that's when alt season does start. You guys can clearly see that in 2017, okay, and of course in 2021, right? When the Bitcoin dominance was dropping, that's pretty much when alt season did begin, okay. And so far, the Bitcoin dominance is still above 65%, and it's not showing any weakness, right? So maybe Q3, right, is the moment where we do see the Bitcoin dominance dropping, right? And that's when alt season will pretty much begin. But we will have to see about that, guys. Okay. But yeah, that is that. Let's just see where Q3 does bring us, okay, for Bitcoin. But yeah, let's get into these charts, starting off with this one. Okay, so Bitcoin with a recent weekly close, Bitcoin has reclaimed the December high of 2024. Okay, exactly what you want to see in a bull market. So looking pretty good for Bitcoin, guys. Okay, we know Bitcoin, okay, did reach a new high of 107, okay, last year, December of 2024, right? Just recently, a couple months back. And yeah, we saw a weekly close. So looking absolutely amazing for Bitcoin, okay? It is still above, $100,000, guys. So it is still looking, pretty amazing for Bitcoin right now, right? It's still holding pretty strong. And this uptrend that I have, in fact, been talking about for Bitcoin, right? Understand, it's going to go higher, right? This uptrend will continue to go higher. We're going to see Bitcoin breaking new all-time highs, right? Eventually. So understand weekly market structure remains strong with a series of higher highs and higher lows. RSI is pushing towards its trend line. Okay, so you guys can clearly see right over here back in the beginning of 2023. Okay, that's when this uptrend started to begin for this uptrend forming for Bitcoin, right? We know Bitcoin back, 2022, right? Q4 around, when was it? November to December, right? In 2022, that's when Bitcoin reached a low during that bear market at that time period, right? We did in fact see Bitcoin reaching, I think it was like 15K, right? It was like below 60K at one point. It reached like 15K. That was in fact its bottom. And ever since then, Bitcoin has just been skyrocketing ever since the beginning, literally right at the beginning of the new years of 2023 to where we are right now in 2025, right? So Bitcoin has been creating this high, low, high, low, high, low, and soon enough it's going to create a high. This uptrend that I have in fact been telling you guys many times about, right, that Bitcoin has been forming ever since, 2023 to where we are right now, will continue. Okay, this uptrend, okay, will continue. We're going to see Bitcoin creating another high, right? So be ready for that, guys, because it's about to happen. Okay, we're going to see Bitcoin reaching 140, 150, 180, so eventually $200,000 and beyond. Okay, I do believe that is very possible for Bitcoin during this bull market right now. Okay, so Saylor, right, they are continuing to buy more Bitcoin. Okay, so Strategy has acquired, okay, 4,980 Bitcoins for $500 million. Okay, $531.9 million, guys, which is insane. Man, Marcus Saylor, they've just been buying a whole bunch of Bitcoin, right? Strategy, they are buying a whole bunch of Bitcoin, and they now hold, okay, almost 600,000 Bitcoins. Okay, exactly 597,325 Bitcoins. Okay, so absolutely amazing to see, guys. Okay, these guys, man, they are accumulating. They are simply DCAing into Bitcoin, as we all know. Okay, and soon enough, yes, they're gonna accumulate, 1 million Bitcoins. I do believe that's gonna be happening down in the future, guys. Right? So absolutely amazing to see for Sailor and Strategy. Right? They are continuing to accumulate Bitcoin. Okay. And yeah, Marco Saylor Strategy now owns 597,325 Bitcoins worth over $64 billion, guys. That is obviously a lot of money. I mean, we know, okay, that Saylor himself, he's wealthy. Okay. He's obviously a billionaire, right? He's got a lot of money. Okay. But obviously, right, this is nothing to him. All these Bitcoins that he has in fact been accumulating is nothing to the guy, right? He's obviously very, very wealthy himself, and he understands, where Bitcoin is heading in the future. Okay. But yeah, absolutely amazing to see, guys, that Sailor, okay, Strategy, they are continuing to DCA into Bitcoin. Now, I want to show you guys this because this is actually quite interesting. So it says here, in 2015, I sold 800 Bitcoins to buy a house for my family. In 2018, I sold my house and bought back 50 Bitcoins. People who thinks I'm crazy for selling my house, please know that my only regret is to have sold my Bitcoins. Investment in real estate is now garbage comparing to Bitcoin. And this post was back in August of 2019, right? 13th of August in 2019. Okay, so this person, okay, sold the Bitcoins, 800 Bitcoins, right, in 2015. And then they sold their house and bought back 50 Bitcoins. Okay, so as I've been telling you guys many times, back 2021, guys, when I first started to get into, Bitcoin and whatnot, I had a savings. Okay, I had a savings, guys, and my plan was to, put a deposit in a house. I was planning back in 2021, right, to buy my first ever home. Okay, but when I saw the crash for Bitcoin back in 2021, right over here, right, mid of 2021, during this crash right over here, I remember specifically, right over here, okay, during the time period of June and July. When I saw that crash happening, I took that as an opportunity to buy some Bitcoin. I was like, you know what? Screw the house. I'm gonna buy some more Bitcoin, right? So I bought Bitcoin instead of a house, and ever since then, I have not had any regrets. Honestly, if I instead bought the house instead of Bitcoin, that would have been my biggest regret. I would have wished I bought Bitcoin instead of a house because, as you guys know, okay, Bitcoin is a much, in my opinion, okay, is a much better investment than real estate. Just personally, my opinion, guys, right? Bitcoin has been outperforming real estate, right, for the past few years now, and I really do believe it's gonna continue to outperform it down in the future. I mean, look at this, guys, right? In 2016, a home was around, over almost $300,000. Okay, and if you were to um, buy a home right in 2016 with Bitcoin, it'll be 664 Bitcoins. Okay, that's how much Bitcoins you would need to buy a home in 2016. Now in 2020, it gets much lower. Look at that, right? $328,000 for a home, and you would just need 45 Bitcoins. Now, if you look at it in 2024, right, you would need over $400,000 for a home, and you would need 6.6 Bitcoins for a home. So you have to clearly see it's getting much lower. Your purchasing power with Bitcoin becomes much higher. You would realize, right, if you simply own a Bitcoin, everything around you becomes much more cheaper because your purchasing power becomes much higher, right? You're beating inflation. Again, that's what I always tell you guys, to invest, your money into assets like Bitcoin, appreciating assets, especially for long term. So understand, guys, the people out there that don't own Bitcoin, you would realize, okay, that everything around you becomes more expensive and you can't afford it. Of course, right? Because of inflation, your purchasing power is going lower, especially if you own fiat, of course. This is why the wealthy, right, are always investing. They are staying wealthy. Okay, the rich stay rich because they are always investing, guys. They are always beating inflation. They know how to beat it, right? So if you guys want to beat inflation, okay, you want to stay ahead, you always got to invest into assets. And I recommend Bitcoin, not financial wise. Always do your own research, but this just proves it right over here, guys. Okay, and I really do believe in the next, 8, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years from now, you can easily buy a house, okay, a house for less than 1 Bitcoin. Meaning, yes, you can down in the future maybe buy a house with Bitcoin for only, less than a Bitcoin, 0.8 or 0.5, half of a Bitcoin, or even just 10% of a Bitcoin, 0.1 Bitcoin, because we know Bitcoin will be a digital asset that's going to be worth not just $1 million per coin, but millions of dollars, guys. Call me crazy, but that's eventually going to be happening for Bitcoin, right? Please understand that, guys. Okay, so that being said, that is that. Okay, that is that. But yeah, I appreciate all you guys for watching today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Give this video a thumbs up, and of course subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. That is always much appreciated. But yeah, yeah, I will catch you guys all in my next video. Have a good one, guys.